If there's somebody online who wants to read in the open mic, then please send a direct message there to Rob at Poetry Center San Jose. Otherwise, if you're in the house here, see Rob at Poetry Center San Jose right there. Um, and uh, um, and you can read in the open mic. All right. Otherwise, Rob, we're good to go. Yeah. Okay, we're good to go. So, I'll be tracking this. I guess, yeah, don't bounce on this too much. I guess we got the mic attached to it here. So, anyways, I'm Joe, and I'm the president of Work San Jose, and there's Amy over there. She's the vice president right there at the desk. Yeah. And welcome to Works. We're kind of between, well, we're not we're totally between exhibitions right now. We just closed Redeconstruction, which you can see the impressive banner for right there. And there's a couple of pieces actually left behind, like a video and Tony May's piece over here with these fish. And there are some explanations around if you want to go and see it. Next up is our member exhibition, which being a member of Works means you contribute either like monetarily to become a member, kind of like, being a member of KQED, you like get a membership and support the organization. But also here, then people who volunteer a certain amount can be a member, and people who are artists who donate a piece to our annual benefit auction are also members. So that show is going to be like kind of a survey of area art that's going to open up the last weekend, the last Saturday of July, just before like First Friday, of course, is a big deal here across downtown San Jose with the Art Walk, and we're always open for First Fridays, except for July and January. But that show is going to have between 80 and 90 artists in the area who are our members. And of course, we have like more than twice that many actual members because, well, some artists think, well, they don't have anything to show this time, or they're not an artist. They're just somebody who wants a community art space like this to exist. And Works is pretty scrappy. We're an all-volunteer nonprofit. We've been around since 1977, so we're kind of up on a giant, like 50-year sort of anniversary in a year and a half here. So looking forward to that, and looking forward as well as back. This is the seventh space of Works that you guys are in, and was built for us along with a partnership of Create TV, and in this whole facility, which is 36,000 square feet, including a floor below us of tech and storage. There's 7 nonprofits here, including Chopsticks Alley Art, the other gallery space here, and others like Lead Filipino, Silicon Valley, oh no, Latina Coalition Silicon Valley. I'm getting that mixed up. Northern California Public Media, downstairs with Create TV. There's 4 public access television stations running right now out of the servers there. So talk to Enrique, I think is up front. Talk to him if you're interested in getting your content out into the community on television, all in this space. Behind me, behind this wall, and behind that little hallway right here is a 2,000 square foot TV studio in there. So that's all of what goes on in here. And then this is Works. This is Works' space. So this is a community art space. In other words, we don't have an on-staff curator like museums and most galleries and commercial galleries for sure do. So we do have in a board of directors a kind of sort of gatekeeper, but not really a gatekeeper, but like we try to let everybody in. We have shows like the member exhibition, and one that's coming up after the first of the year that's really exciting because Super Bowl 60 is coming back. And with Super Bowl 50, we actually had it at our earlier location. We had an official exhibition of Super Bowl 50 that was called Super Hunger Anti-Valentine Bowl Games Part 50. And so this time we're coming back. We don't know. There's not an official like arts thing that we've heard about this time, but we're going to have Super Hunger Anti-Valentine Bowl Games Part 60 coming up after the first of the year, where everybody who brings in a piece about sports, love, society, whatever, like will be on the wall. So typically those shows are about 100, 120, 130 local artists. So follow us at Work San Jose on social media. We don't do the X thing, but we do the other ones that are owned by horrible people. But so yeah, we're pretty active on Instagram with our board member Stephen Rubalcaba doing a great job over there, and then out on Facebook, and of course sign up for our e-list at workssj.org or worksanjose.org. Either one gets you there. And just if you're on your phone, go to any page but the front page, because it's like one of those WordPress things where it scrolls till forever on the front page, but all the other pages just go to the bottom, sign the e-list. Or if you're actually on like a laptop or something like that, just go to the upper right corner and sign the e-list and follow and tell your visual artist friends, tell, of course, your poet friends. We also sponsor here Flash Fiction Forum, which is coming back in August. That's on the second Wednesday of that month. So pay attention there, and you can go to flashfictionforum.com and apply to be one of the readers there. They feature about these are all independently curated. I'm going to give you our curator here in just a second, but our curators for that feature about 10 to 12 readers a night for flash fiction. So, and they do some invitations. I've been invited, even though I don't consider myself a fiction writer. I've been a poet, so people say. But look for that program, look for this, look for all of our other music and workshops for artists as well. In August, we have a little workshop coming up on starting a creative business, so look for that. All right. I'm going to give to you now the president, the effing president of Poetry Center San Jose, right there, Mr. He's not walking up yet, Mr. Rob Pesich. All right. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming tonight, and really very happy to have these guests join us this evening. And we've got a lot of programs at Poetry Center San Jose. You can find us at pcsj.org with Writers Cafe at Markham House this coming Sunday. Third Thursday open mic featuring a double feature with Kirk Glazer and Jarvis Subia. And Poets at Play Creative Writing Workshop with Jarvis Subia again. If you want more information, you can talk to Jen. She can explain to you a little bit about the writing workshop there. Bashar is coming Sunday, July 20th at the Evergreen Village Square and Poetry Lounge with host Lisa Medley. And we've got Poetry Slam via Zoom and the Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Prize that concludes July 31st. So get your submissions in July 31st via submittable 11:59. Now, want to also thank Works San Jose, Joe Miller, Laura, Amy at the desk over there. Thank you so much for hosting. This is like, what is it now, 14 years going on? Something like that. So, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that
South First Street, yeah. Yeah. So, to start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Poetry Center San Jose and the city of San Jose exist on the unceded land of the Muwekma Ohlone. We recognize that the Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the community today and recognize their right to this land, which they have stewarded throughout the generations. Acknowledge that members of the San Jose community and residents of California and the U.S. continue to benefit from the use and occupation of indigenous land, and that this land has come under the control of various entities. through violence and dishonesty, and we recognize the history and legacy of colonialism that continue to negatively impact indigenous peoples, their traditional territories, practices, lifeways, and well-being to this day. Now for a moment of silence. Thank you. And I'm going to share in the chat for folks in Zoom and then also in YouTube how you can donate to their efforts to purchase land back for their people. All right. Okay, great. Now we've got a triple dose here, and first I'd like to introduce our guest from New York, and then after she's done, we will then move to our next guest. I will introduce her, and then finally from Santa Cruz, our guest from Santa Cruz. Okay. All right. Aida Zilelian is a first-generation American-Armenian writer, educator, and storyteller from Queens, New York. She is the author of The Legacy of Lost Things, Bleeding Heart Publications, recipient of the 2014 Toloyan Literary Award. Aida's most recently completed novel, All the Ways We Lied, released in January of 2024. Her debut poetry chapbook, Dissonance, was the recipient of the 2024 Swanside Press Poetry Chapbook Contest and is forthcoming now. You can get it here with her. And she has recently completed her short story collection, Where There Can Be No Breath at All. Aida was the curator of Boundless Tales, one of the first and longest running reading series in Queens, New York. She is on the board of directors of Newtown Literary, a Queens-based literary journal that supports emerging writers. Now, please give a warm welcome to our guest, Aida Zilelian.
Thank you for that warm welcome and for everyone being here. I flew in from New York this morning. So it's interesting the way this all happened because I didn't start writing poems until February of 2024. And I had many years ago when I got my master's, and when I came back from Los Angeles for All the Ways We Lied, I was out here for that. I started writing poems, and I put this small collection together. And Jared Hurrell, who was the winner of the Prairie Schooner for 2023, who lightly edited it for me. And I sent it, and Mr. Lovely Rob Pesich here calls me in October and tells me that I won the contest. Swan site, though. This is a big deal for me because I don't consider myself a poet. I consider myself a person who writes poems. So being American, Armenian, first generation, and the granddaughter of a genocide survivor who was orphaned. My grandfather, Garabed, was orphaned in the Armenian genocide. So this collection is it has a very sharp and intense autobiographical arc. And I'm hoping to pull pieces out of here that highlight that. And I'm also going to read a couple of poems from my full-length collection that I just completed. And the title for that is Beautiful Monster and Other Lost Orphans. And so I'll be reading a couple of pieces from that. I don't like to explain my poems. No one should have to explain their poems, but some of them may need a little bit of introduction and context because you'll be hearing them and you won't be able to read them over, so you will need that. So again, first generation, just keep that in mind as I read my first poem, and it's called Anzanot, and Anzanot in Armenian means stranger, a person that we do not know. Two references. Gabudikian was a famous Armenian poet. Everyone from my generation had to memorize her poetry growing up. And CBs, does anyone know CBGBs? Okay, so I used to play at CB's gallery next door when I played guitar and sang all over New York. So that's that reference, but hopefully I won't have to explain all of my poems so elaborately. So we'll get started. Thanks for being here. Anzanot. I recite Gabudikian and roll a joint. I used to paint my nails purple, chew gum, and hum a sad hymn from the Sharagans. Once me and the priest's grandson snuck out of church to share a cigarette, and he came out to me joyously. At my family's dinner table on Easter Sunday, I asked Deadhide why he believed in God. I don't remember what he said. Isn't that the way with those guys, passengers? I've been on the fringes of a mosh pit and danced the tamzara, my heels blistered, arm bruised by the punk who collided into my chest. I embarrassed God once by asking him what the hell he's been doing lately. At CB's, me and my guitar, the air galvanized. When I sing, it's from history. An immigrant daughter of ravines and wheat fields, cadaver skies, desert wind, Armenian slave girls, shkamar tattooed, ripe pomegranates uneaten, hardened by winter's frost, gallows, the dark hawks. Black halter dress, my lips wine red, tongue numb with tequila. I am mincing an onion for tabbouleh, boiling red lentils for buhur kefte. Chereg rises on the radiator, mahaleb. My American friends say Armenian, not Armenian, which is why I'll chop parsley and boil chickpeas instead of buying Saharas. The lizard tattoo that climbs along the right of my back thought the girl in the embroidered apron and long brown braids had left the shurchbad. At 92, I'll be linking pinkies. The arak I drink warms my grandfather's belly. I can't darn a sock. I'll hear my meds mama clucking, the eye of the needle glaring at me without apology. Thank you. Okay. Finding you. Christmas Eve, I asked my father if it would snow, and he told me to pray to God. I was 7. Cold morning light. I tore open the curtains, my face illuminated from the white glare, the crystallized sheen. It was a miracle of chance. God and I have been in a fight. Maybe it started when my mother didn't let me tweeze my eyebrows until I was 14, or the time Mrs. Barone made me wait to use the bathroom, a streak of maroon on my chair when the period bell rang. It could have been the afternoon my father slammed my mother's head into the passenger car window. Oh God, I cried out. There was that time I swallowed a bottle of Tylenol and I waited. Then I pressed my fingers down the far back of my tongue. I didn't wait for you. I must have known. I didn't wait for you when the first boy I slept with, my 7-year crush, never called me back. I played the piano until I banged out all the angles of his distorted face when he came and didn't say, I love you. I didn't wait. I would walk home late at nights in winter, passing $3 cabs, sucking on a cigarette hard enough to singe my lungs, saving up to move out of a lunatic's paradise. There you were the other day. Dust motes floating in the afternoon light, gentle and still. I hadn't forgotten about it exactly the way light saves us. It can capture miracles in the morning snow of a child's prayer. My grandfather, Arakel, lived on Goddard Street in Rhode Island, and the block became really run down. And I didn't understand why so many Cambodians had moved in at the time. But it was because of the Cambodian genocide, and I did not know that. Arakel, 1979. Choking afternoon heat, my dede on his weathered porch stares down Goddard Street. Cambodian children languish as the lemon ice truck turns the corner. Genocide refugees leaning on paint chipped railings in their underwear. My dede fishes for a Marlboro from the soft pack, sips from a mug of souge that could fill 4 demi-task cups, and fishes a fistful of change from his trouser pocket. In the other are his worry beads, the shape of broken landscapes, a lost country, leblebi. The lemon ice truck hobbles and lurches like a drunkard keeping terrible time. the air thick like old flower water. My dede descends the broken cement steps he had once spackled with cheap plaster, the wrong shade of gray. And the child refugees gather in a knot, trailing towards the tin can drone in my dede, holding out their hands and waiting for the loose change in his fist, which spills like water into their tired palms. Thank you. The Escape Artist. If my autobiography were a tombstone, it would read, "Here lies the escape artist of perilous feats." I'm 12 years old. My grandmother's shake at the stove, whipping boxed potato flakes, frying chicken cutlets, dousing shredded red cabbage with vinegar. My mother grips a suitcase for my last exit. My grandmother's hands holding a Pyrex bowl tremble. How did I escape abandonment? The smell of a fresh corpse, the chimney chugging away as my childhood disappeared. My immigrant father, I would pretend to sleep when he kissed my cheek, the blue, black sky in the window. In 12 hours' time, he would materialize like a folklore eating dolma, his calloused hand gripping a spoon of madzun, his favorite condiment. He'd lay paralyzed in the same bed from which he rose all those mornings, building rich houses for his dead father. Nothing to outrun but a lost genocide. My husband's birthday in the fertility clinic calls to say, "Your numbers are dropping." When he leans in to blow out the candles, his face aglow, I slug back a mimosa, the lining inside of me thinning to shreds. Motherhood is a hieroglyphic task. It's fleeing from a broken mirror, a silver nightmare. Did I get far? My last heartbreak lived in a paradox. He didn't make promises, only declarations. His words bonfires, but he could only love himself. I'm hiding this time because there's nowhere to go. I can find portals just about anywhere, between the teeth of piano keys, behind my daughter's sleeping eyes, an empty cup of coffee, white sunshine. It's a cemetery of possibilities. To be brave, I've been running in place, blindfolded by time. Thank you. So Rob was very nice in letting me remove one poem in exchange for the other. So I'm going to read you the poem that went in here, and then I'm going to read you the poem that I swapped it out for. Figs. Every September, I gather figs from the towering tree in my backyard. I balance on the tallest step of a paint-stained ladder and hold a plastic bowl, gently pluck the tender fruit into my palm. The dark green leaves itch my hands and wrists. The sappy stems stick to my fingers like old glue. I avert wasps, suffer flies above my head, dot my arms with calamine after the mosquitoes have feasted. I arrange my harvests on a white platter and admire their smooth shape as if I was the tree itself. This early autumn, I left a broken summer behind. Life has imploded and its fragments rattle inside me like old keys. Through my kitchen window, I watch bees swarm in the oblivion. Each fig burst open with decay, hanging limply. They sour the air, no longer sweet. How foul they are, their insides exposed, guts and sickly. I should feel remorse. The waste and now the ritual broken. I wonder if I will ever return barefoot and naive when I reached for every ripe bit, when salvaging had been my best and only hope. Okay, so this is what was supposed to go in that I took out. The title is If You Don't Want the Answer. Now, you can't see it, but it looks like this. There's no punctuation here. I'll do my best to read it that way, but also comprehensible enough that I'm not running too fast. if you don't want the answer. You are a reptile watching CNN, your nuchal crest quivering like old crinoline. You ask me, why are the neighbors so loud? How much longer until dinner is ready? Is it raining again? Wait, how much did they say to fix the toilet? It doesn't matter the answer because they're all the same answer because it's the same truth. The light in me snuffed out. What do you mean you feel disconnected from me? How did the dent on the car happen? What time are you coming home? Didn't we already watch this episode? The wretched merry-go-round goes round, and when do I jump off? It's not like I'm scared of falling. A few scrapes on my knee that would crust and itch. Does this shirt look stupid on me? What do you mean I had too much to drink? Why are you making that face? I think back at how it all started or started ending for us. Was it the lunatic in office who hasn't been assassinated? We have to leave the country, you said, maybe Canada, we can't live here, while I'm hoarding COVID kits the pharmacy truck distributed, waiting in line at dawn, the cold sun, cold, so cold and dull, and this is what communist living feels like psychologically. Or maybe when we stop sleeping on our sides, our spines meeting tenderly as our bodies drifted and fell away. I think back to when it all started for you. Was it your father who punched your puppy because it peed on his recliner? Was it when you got mugged in Ingram Park? They ripped off the gold cross, a communion gift your dead grandmother had saved up for, clipping key food coupons. Was it your ex-girlfriend who threw bottles at you, scraped her initials into your new tobacco sunburst Epiphone electric? You are watching CNN. It affirms your contempt that when things break, they're broken, which is how I feel now, a broken house with no electricity, not a candle to burn. The new neighbors are loud as hell. Why are you making that face? No, really, does this shirt look stupid on me? Thank you. Okay. Okay. This should continue it nicely. I'm going to read two. Two from my full-length collection. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Again, autobiographical arc, so if you will. Vacation. Amidst the sunbathers and the lagoon sparkling, lily pads, the bright heat on my face, I watched the innocence of unbroken families, florid palm trees, rays beaming through the curtain of fronds above my head, no longer the person I was, because I am that kind of Cleopatra who sings in the blue water. Flutters my eyes at weak-kneed boys and men who will bring me a fresh coconut to drink and a long spoon to eat the meat. Mojitos and the sunset's languor driving out the dead woman who limped to the finish line of matrimony. I did it, a 20-year streak. I learned to bake bread and tread the calm hell above water, to change a diaper with one hand, make a unicorn cake, turn my back to fall asleep, my pillow a new chest of dreams, thread the needle and stitch up my tongue, a sensible practice. Take down the Christmas tree before the pine brittled, bleach the tub with baking soda paste, to shut up also and not to start shit, to walk away, because I'll slam your skull against the wall the way I'll show you rage, bitch. It was fear once, you'll choke on me. Try playing a guitar with no strings. I played the shit out of that thing. It's all that was left. I'll sing, motherfucker. I'll sing in the water. I'll recite this loudly to the waves one day and cast that dead woman out to sea. How should I leave this? Oh, we're going to leave on a good note. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Or... Okay, fine. I'll do it. If only I could tell him this. It's the title of my last poem here. You find yourself wanting to cry on your back, the tropical steam, your body slippery in the night car and the rainstorm pelting the roof, wondering if you had been making love on the sidewalk or what. Impossible to say less than I love you, but you won't if you know what's good for you. Has he been saying it all along? Cradling your head in his palms, the rhythm of a relentless dance, your nakedness a feeling he has drawn out of you, a trance you can't shake off this time. What the fuck, you say instead. Since when did I never want it to end? It's what I had waited for before him, the years hacking their way out until I left unbroken. And now this. It's almost 3 a.m. The street lamps halo the wet roads, the rain letting loose with thunder. After, you write your name on the window and it trickles. He kisses you like the first time. He doesn't say anything. He won't the next evening or the other. Instead, he'll put your hand on his chest against his heart, and you don't get it until you're halfway up your block and the morning birds, they are soaring. Thank you.
Good. Want to revisit now the open mic. Is there anyone else who wants to join the open mic? And in Zoom land, just put your name in the chat and we'll do it. Yeah? Okay. You're 4. Please welcome to the mic, Pascual.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone. And we did the land acknowledgement, but I think we're letting some people off a little bit too easy on that, you know. Land acknowledgement. Of course, we honor our Ohlone sisters and brothers, like we honor the Navajo, Hopi, Apache, Mayo, Yaqui, Seri, like we honor our Black sisters and brothers, our Asian sisters and brothers, and us greasers, too. Piled up, bodies piled up on the street to burn. Couching this in the form of only honoring the Ohlone is not enough. There must also be justice. At least enough to say, there he. And there will never be justice while we don't point out directly by its name the cause of all this shit, white supremacy. This is from my play Paletas, and I read this. This is from my play Paletas. I read this part at the Willow Glen Library. Last time I was here, I read the start of Paletas, and there's 4 acts. The rest of them I read on sidewalks here in San Jose. On sidewalks here in San Jose. I haven't been invited anywhere. No one's commented on my play. This is from my play Paletas. Paletas, paletas. I sell paletas. I push a cart all over the city, bells on the handlebars that ting and tremble as I walk. Paletas, paletas, naranja, limón, jamaica, sandía, piña para la niña, tamarindo, ciruela, qué buena ciruela, yoyomo, yoyomo, yoyomo. Now I'm on William Street, and there's my man Sid in front of the apartment eating sunflower seeds. Sid was Panthers. He was BLA. He always tells me we got to formulate a plan of defense, stay alive. He said, you're a grown-ass man. No one's going to hold your hand. You know how James Baldwin said, God sent Noah the rainbow sign? No more water, the fire next time? And Sid said, I don't know who sent the water, but we're going to bring the fire. They got the guns, we got fire. You know, people running away with just the clothes on their back. Where's the baby? And now they can't put out the fire. Sid, get you some of these sunflower seeds. Cook them with a little salt. They're good for later. Right now, Sid, have a paleta on me. I recommend the tamarindo. Sid said, you recommend effectively. One tamarindo, por favor. Hey, Sid, I hear that salsa coming from your crib. Who's that? That's Roberto Roena, it's su Apollo Sound. I dig all that. Johnny Pacheco, Willie Colon, Celia. And I said, Petey said, Celia Cruz. Ay, que luz. And Sid said, I heard that. And I said, I can dig it. And Sid said, we got to study it, plan it out. And not just around here, not even LA, Oak, San Pancho. And we don't tell nobody. Just you. You cool. Like the Filipino brother on Peach Court. Family on Julian, family on 19. Nicaragua lady on 22nd. Family on North 13, family on 26. We got to plan it out. You think they're not planning? Talking about poisoning the blood, concentration camp for Mexicans, vermin. You think they're talking about talking? And Sid said, Boricua sister from Seven Trees said, honey, I've seen this movie. Cut to the chase. This is about self-defense, defending the family, defending the hood. And Sid said, if we must die, let it not be like hogs, but pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. Who said that, Sid? We got to expand our canon. We should know who said that. Claude McKay said that. And I said, Sidney. And I touched his forehead with all my fingers like pinching. And he said, Young Brown. And I continued on William Street, across the tracks to 24th Street, to Santa Clara Street. Aletas, aletas.
Thank you, Pascual. Now, please welcome to the mic, Marvin Flore.
I loved that reading right now with Paleta, so thank you so much for that. So I'm gonna read one poem that came out of a workshop that I'm doing with Ariana Brown, if anyone knows that name. Amazing poet. But yeah, it's this one. I need these detention facilities gone. Gone like the dying breath, like a summer shade of a redwood tree. I need its walls torn and metal melted. I need our families reunited, return the dead to the living, like cubs need their mother, like ducklings in a single file line, like penguins against somber snow. I need us, a return to nature. I need the boy who could name the atrocities and torture these politicians deserve, a fitting punishment for unfit politicians. I need the judge, jury, and executioner inside of me because God couldn't show in the 1500s. I need reparations to span centuries, beyond the Bracero program, beyond the physical. I need the energy these systems take from me every waking day. I need my mother's body repaired. I need a sacrifice undone. I need an ending to everything, a soft pause, the sun's exhale. I need all the time we lost, the time spent running, tearing our flesh, the Sonoran trek, the crying, building a case for our humanity. I need tomorrow's prayer, the tomorrow that will keep me tethered to the word, the tomorrow that will keep me going. I need a final poem that brings me everything I need. I need a mother's hug. All of them lined up for me. The diaspora organized, wrapping around the mountains that surround my mother's pueblo. I need the line around the block, on the steps of the apartment railings. I need the soft summer air against us, reading the poems we wrote. My mother and I, the diaspora and I, the world and I. In an acre of land my grandfather used to own. Its animals resurrected, grazing the fields. My grandfather's back on his porch, finally, loving the world, allowing himself to cry and love his daughter. Back when he pretended we were human, gazing upon the new world. Those poems. If anyone is interested, you can find me at Marvin Flores Poesía. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Now, please welcome to the mic Janine U.C.
Glaring damage lingers on the outside edge of my left eye, semi-detached retina. Broken wide open, soft spots of skull, puffs of cotton candy clouds, the place where my brain bled all the colors of the rainbow refracted through gray matter. Silly to celebrate a life I'm still living. Did I mention the pulsing azure of the summer sky, the kind that requires sunglasses? Yes, for a while I was mostly dead. Collateral damage on the asphalt, streets stained with my own blood. The driver didn't see me until I slid across the hood. Nice to know that it was not intentional. Sudden awareness in the ambulance, strapped to a backboard, held motionless, head clamped tight. 2 pairs of scissors cut through my clothes. Vulture perches on my chest, tears at that one rib again and again. My mouth full of blood and broken teeth, face raw and red where skin had been, nose almost scraped off my face. I reflect upon the monster in the mirror as the surgeon imagines transformation.
Thank you, Janine. Now, please welcome Larry Hollis.
Thank you. Invite everyone to come to Poets of Play. This was written, well, I'd say this was started at one a couple months ago. It's called Rain and Pots. When I was 5 or 6 and it started to rain, the water would come down in our living room. We'd place trash cans and pots to catch the drips and drops. In that old house we rented on Main. The Wagners, my parents' best friends from grad school, moved to Maine. We would drive there from upstate New York, even in the rain. There's a picture of us in their house, putting lobsters in their dining room to put them to sleep before we drop them in boiling pots. Ed, my best friend from college, my twin brother, we were raised in different pots. People said they could not tell us apart, even though I wore the fur of a teddy bear and Ed wore the lion's mane. At Valentine's, we would kiss every girl. You know, give them those Hershey's chocolate drops. One summer day, I rode my bike 80 miles from my place to his. Next day, he drove me home in the rain. Despite how close we were, there was always room for more. Our friendship were an ever-expanding house. Now I live near the Winchester Mystery House, where I mostly cook pasta in my pots. For needy children, there's always room. We've been graced by seven so far. Our two main, others for short time. Then there were those who came just to get out of the rain. No matter the length of stay, we've done our best to let their needs not get dropped. My wife does not like drop-ins. She wants she wants to clean the house first. She says we rain a mess and the sink is always full of dirty pasta pots. She wants to leave a good impression is the main thing. For you, we'll clean a room or two. For love, there's always room, even if from time to time, tears are dropped. Life is short, that is the main meaning. Always give love a home, despite the potential pain. Let love reign. The house is not there, not a room. The house on Main is not there, not a room. Death has fallen like a rainstorm, more than a few drops. Sadness has filled a house, my twin Ed, my dad, the Wagners. Yet I'm preparing more seeds to plant in planter pots. Thank you.
Now, please welcome to the mic, Donna P. Where are you, Donna? There you are.
Not this time, but the next time. The time after the next time. That time. That's the time. Not like that time. The last time, before the last time, that time. No, this time, this time. Before the next time. And the time after that? This time, but not the next time, but not the time after that. I'm going to bring a telephone. 264-8532. Pick it up and say, hello, Mom. Before the next time, I'm going to cover my garbage can with this really cool mirror-like wallpaper, and I'm going to throw this and try to get this right in that garbage can. The time after, the next time and after the time, with the telephone, that's the time. That's the time. Well, before that time, I have to decide. Before that time, let me think about the last time. That's all.
Thank you, Donna. Now, please welcome to the mic, Tammy N.
It's the first time I've ever kind of read poetry aloud to anybody. What, in a group like this. So I've been a huge fan of spoken word for about 10, 15 years. And I think the last 6 months is when I started writing my own work. So I have about 8 poems now, but I'm going to start with one that I wrote for my, self-explanatory. So it's, Dear Dad, I don't remember calling you anything other than Dad. I didn't use any endearing nicknames. You were never Daddy or Baba. I do miss you and I do love you, but those words feel so impossible to say out loud. It doesn't diminish what I feel, but somehow the words feel too heavy to speak. My breath cannot seem to carry them past my lips. For the first 20 years of my life, you were by my side. You protected me so fiercely. I miss your laugh, your smile, picking me up from school, playing your music so loud. You would sing my name even when you were at work, and when people would ask why you would And when people asked why, you would tell them it's because you loved me that much. As a child, I would lay on your belly. The smell of falafel lingered from the meal you prepared for church. The rhythm of your breathing calming, the rise and fall of your chest soothing. You taught me to love cooking and sharing food. You made sure I knew how to work hard. Everything is earned. And when I say, Dad, why can't you let me do some of the things I want? Why do you always have to say no? Your response, your heart is too big, so I have to say no for you. You knew that your death haunted me, and the haunting started many months before your death when your cancer worked so hard to take everything from you. The olive oil you rubbed on your skin provided no relief. I know you were grateful when I would help you put on your socks and made sure you had snacks. Even though the cancer stole your ability to feel hunger, your thin and weakened body desperate for nutrition. But your body knew all too well that the ravenous cancer would greedily steal all nourishment away from your cells, all against your will. The medications they gave you caused illusions, turning our living room into a war zone. The space behind our couches became the trenches. You would yell at us to hide from the oncoming bullets that existed only in your mind's eye. A haunting memory you carried so viscerally, the memories that traveled with you across countries and through decades of your life. Lying in the hospital bed surrounded by young doctors who knew the trajectory of your illness all too well, tasked with breaking the news that I refused to believe. I stood by and observed, too afraid to speak. You could no longer speak. Many of your basic functions gone, but you would squeeze the hands of our visitors who would talk to you about the times you laid tiles in the churches, promising that when you left your hospital bed, you can continue your work. Your handiwork brought you so much pride. Your body destroyed, your spirit intact. An imposture of you would show up in my dreams, your body moving, but there was no life-giving oxygen coursing through your veins. An unnatural force moving your empty shell of a body along in those dreams, because your spirit was gone. I felt the heaviness of your absence, the cruelty of the imposter that looked almost identical to you. At a quick glance, it looked just like you. The artificial night almost tricked me into believing it was you. But I should have known better, and I did. I couldn't see your face. Your movement was jagged, artificial, your voice gone. You would show up in my dreams, but it wasn't you. I watched as you were being buried in this dream. My mom tasked with moving the soil to make space for your body. She would work so hard to care for you when you were ill. And this was her one final act to leave your body in the earth to rest, free of pain. The space was dark as if it was nighttime, but it felt so unnatural. The night sky, there was no night sky to speak of, no stars to comfort us in the darkness, no moon glowing brightly and purely above us. You knew how much your death haunted me. So you showed up one last time in my dreams, but this time it was really you. The sky was bright blue. You were dressed in an all-white suit. You were young, like when I was a small child. Your hair was just how you liked it, thick and brushed to the side. I could see your smiling face. You walked up to an ice cream truck, but instead of ice cream, you brought flowers. You bought flowers. Red roses specifically. You turned to walk away. I called out, Dad, why are you going in that direction if you know I can't follow you? Dad, what are the flowers for? So you turned back and said to me something so simple, but so full of confidence and resolve. I'm bringing these flowers to my funeral, but don't worry, I know you love me. Well, that's it.
Thank you, Tanya. To conclude the open mic, please welcome Samya A.
everyone. It's been some time since I've been in front of the mic, so I'm excited to share this poem with you today. It's called Torch. Mornings get cold. If I were to wake up, it'd be bold like the colors of the airs tonight, orange and black, dystopian there and back, comically tiring, firing my shots at an empty dartboard. You see, my mama was a teacher, but she can't teach me to love like her, love sweet, love kind, love, mind you, my mother met my father when his life was broken, covered in dirt and blood, sick and rotting by the hands of many men, meant to hurt him like blood on the hands of an empty can, fan to none. You see, love to my father was the same as pain, loss, and death. So he couldn't understand why I could barely take a breath, asked about why I was always so afraid. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out, my mouth. So I learned to speak. I learned to rhyme. I knew it was only time before the stories of my family went blind to an eye that yet not experienced the fire of a sweet nectar existence. In a distant land, far away from 6 a.m. to 50K, from GPAs and maiden names, from overtime pay and getting laid, I have made a life that weighs more than being the worker or the wife, more than working for the knife. And one day, you'll realize that if you couldn't find beauty in the darkest hour, you're simply giving away your power to the manor, to the gov, to the man, to the bone-crushing, spirit-burning, artist-fueled propaganda need a hand starting a mental revolution because we can't burn the laws or burn the streets. We can't burn the pain or burn the meat. Meet up. Understand that one day, your child and your spawn will live under some military pawns. Oh, forget it. Democracy this, democracy that. Sleep in the morning so you'll never have to watch it back, back to the sky, back to the air. Watch the air get exactly what you dreamed of. Freedom they taught us to never want. You see, we are all seeds dropped from the roots of our land, of the hand provided by those who had to fight the pesticide. Pesticide, homicide, genocide, infanticide. You see, everything that I do is an extension of who I am. So let that sink in before our work gets banned. People of the arts must never forget to carry on the torch when it starts to get dark. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Hope you and Tammy come back to next month. Yeah. Now for our next guest, Jen Siraganian, an Armenian-American writer, educator, and former poet laureate of Los Gatos. Her poetry has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize, won the 2024 New Ohio Review Poetry Prize, and has appeared in AGNI, Best New Poets, Cortland Review, Poetry Daily, Prairie Schooner, and the Rumpus. Her current manuscript journal for Pomegranates has been a finalist of the Tupelo Press Dorset Prize, the Perugia Press Prize, and the University of Wisconsin's Brittingham and Felix Pollak Prizes in poetry, and a semi-finalist for the Persea books Lexi Rudnitsky First Book Prize, Philip Levine Prize for poetry, and Vassar Miller Prize in poetry. A former managing editor of Litquake, San Francisco's literary festival. She is a current Lucas Artist Fellow up there in the hills in Montalvo. Please now welcome Jen Siraganian.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's so amazing to be here in incredible company. I'm very touched. And huge thanks as well to Work San Jose for holding the space. And reading glasses are probably going to be in order. Okay, so I'll start a background poem. Self-portrait, a second version. I prefer tea to coffee, sleeping to waking. Maybe that's why my death seems innocuous. I wouldn't be American if my father wasn't a Palestinian refugee. I wouldn't have been born if he didn't hire my mother. Unlike my mother, I'm not allergic to scallops, hazelnuts, or buckwheat. Unlike my father, I'm not an immunologist. He's useful during a pandemic. He helped Fauci buy a Bedouin rug. He could haggle. Of course, his Arabic helped too. I can't write a poem without dropping a name. When Barbara Streisand walked through my dorm, I told her The Prince of Tides was the best film I had ever seen. I'm prone to hyperbole. Israel will never permit me to live in my father's house. That's not exaggeration. I can visit my grandparents' graves, but only for 90 days. One summer, I didn't last 2 weeks. Conflict avoidant, my husband calls me, but I prefer saying that the country was not my cup of tea. So I'll read so a few. I sort of have these different sections. So I do have a manuscript that's out, that's trying to find a home. So knock on wood, it'll happen at some point. And there is a section that's about going to Israel, going to Palestine, which if anyone knows, if you go to Israel, you cannot mention that you're going to Palestine, because if you mention that, then you'll have trouble getting out of Israel. So there's always there's a lot of poems, I will say, from the time that I spent there, even though I was there for a very short time. And I feel like it's really relevant to be sharing some of the stories, especially with our news today, which can be very skewed. Okay, so here's another poem as well. Turning into Powder. I remember my father's school in Ramallah. It was summer. I remember dust and toilets without water. I still peed in one. How American of me. One boy from his school attended my alma mater. 2 Thanksgivings ago, he was shot in Vermont for wearing a keffiyeh. I think of my young boys, whose only knowledge of guns are the ones that go pew pew from Star Wars, and I kiss and I leave with their father before walking to protests. I remember the girls in Bethlehem who giggled as they grabbed my hand and posed, begging for me to take another photo. Sandwiching cheeks against each other, smiles, exposed teeth like Taylor Swift's at the Super Bowl as she cheered on men crashing into men for money. Each morning, more children turn into powder, and my American tax-paying hands are sticky sour. Rinse, repeat. Each morning, I see my father, barely 8, coated in dust, emerge like ghosts from his dynamited house. Each morning, I think of the girl's eyes, broken drawers that never close quite right. Okay, so thank you. So here's one that maybe like sets a little bit more context. So my dad is Armenian-American, but as Ida had mentioned, so with the Armenian genocide, so my dad was the children of actually a number of his parents were both Armenian genocide survivors, and if you know about the Armenian genocide, they lived which is now modern Turkey, and then there was a whole diaspora, and so his family ended up in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem has an Armenian quarter that dates back centuries and centuries and centuries, and so he lived in Jerusalem and always spoke of it really positively and had this sort of idyllic childhood until 48. And this poem came from a list of toys that his father actually had typed up after 1948, when Israel was created, to try to get some reparation for the toys. And this was one page. There was, it was like 8 pages of all the items that he that were taken because they couldn't move back to their home. But for some reason, that last page with the toys like really stuck with me, much more than like the dining set and the diamonds and everything else. So this is called Thinking About My Father's Erector Set from 1948. And I think, sorry, I'll just, one more thing. One of the reasons I also was inspired is I saw someone, I hate social media, screw social media, but I saw an Israeli soldier in Gaza who had taken a individual's guitar and he was playing with it. And a Gazan man said, "That's my guitar. I had to leave that in Gaza when I left." and the soldier was playing with the guitar, and the guy knew the guitar because it had certain stickers, and if you know people who play guitars, they personalize it and make it their own. And I just thought about the guitar, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I thought about my dad's toys, and this was the one toy that he loved. He told me about this toy so much. So it's called Thinking About My Father's Erector Set from 1948. Rarely my father speaks of the slow rubble piling before months sped hotter than his parents expected. They thought it would pass, unaware of the aches that appear later. He was 8. This was before walls and checkpoints and talks of 2 states. Let's focus on one wound at a time. I can only tell a story diluted. I'll try softly. My father had toys, then he didn't. He had a childhood, and then he didn't. Here is me at a sunlit table in California, doubling as American and something like coarse salt. How often I hear, it's complicated, when I mention my father grew up in Palestine, went to school in Palestine, and immigrated to the US as a Palestinian. His voicemail last week, don't post anything online. For years, he lived in no man's land, and I, half Armenian, half daughter of a man from half of a land that is half of me. When I visited, could I call the wall beautiful, but only the painted side? My grandmother's friends spit on for shopping on the wrong street in Jerusalem. Jews walk on one side, Muslims the other. She's neither. She started paying someone to do her errands. Seeing my father's childhood home, its walls adorned with sniper fire and a gravity of collisions, it consumed me. Bullet holes as common as commas. In the Armenian quarter, the pottery store owner said he would close before things worsened. Palestine his home until it wasn't. Truth stitched into my grandmother's embroidery. Did I tell you that she left that too? Here's an echo no one asked for, singing of a home in Jerusalem before all the Armenians evaporated. At the airport, I, though not yet vapor, say nothing to the Israeli passport agent, not telling him I visited Palestine, not asking for the return of the toys my father left behind. Thank you. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna check time. Okay. So this will be, gosh, so, one of the other things that's been happening a lot in the news, obviously, is universities. And when one of my alma maters was Columbia, and Columbia, if you kept up with the news, was definitely in the spotlight, and still is with some of their recent decisions. And I just kept thinking about the encampments, and the encampment, Columbia had a very impressive encampment. And I thought about what I was doing at Columbia when I was there. It's called How to Use a Mouth. At 18, I listened into the blackness of a headset as classmates whispered about the hunger to die or a scarlet realization that she never said yes the previous night. Back then, I believed I could help people. 40 hours of crisis hotline training, I thought I had mastered something. Did I stop vomiting dinners of Lucky Charms in basement bathrooms? No. I spooned my emptiness into no one. This week, my campus on the news. Students building protests with tent poles, spilling flags across the same damp grass where I drank boons, smoked cloves, and slept. I was only on Butler Lawn for one night. I wasn't radical. The university had hosted a sleepover for incoming students to demonstrate the safety of New York. Our parents received letters promising extra security, cameras, spotlights. My rebellion, a stomach growl from my sleeping bag. Why didn't I use my mouth to snarl instead of singing my fear of freshmen 15 into dark toilets? Last night, my mother said, if you were there, you would be protesting too. Yes, I respond, but when the NYPD arrived, I would have run. Thank you. Okay, so a couple more from that series. This is called Waiting. Standing on the Jerusalem sidewalk, my father, raised in the city, expelled from the city, neither Arab nor Jew, suggests we alternate. The last taxi we took to dinner had yellow plates, a Jewish cab. Upon our return, we hail a taxi with green plates, an Arab driver. The sky darkens plum. We should be prepared to be stopped, but it's our last night and baklava's phyllo clings sweetly to teeth. My father and the driver flutter back and forth in Arabic, and then our car approaches a cluster of lights, slows the checkpoint. Other cars waved ahead. Giddy with speed, they pass us, but we are directed into a lot. Outside, men in cardigans smoke, avoid eye contact with soldiers. Inside a trailer, benches and more benches, women in headscarves, children and more children. A black sign, no photos allowed. My father asks, how long? The driver puts up his hands. We wait. There are no empty seats. The sunset is unnoticed. No one leaves. Cigarettes glow hot with each inhale. And then, because I had to talk about airports, so this is my last poem about like when I was in Israel. Why my father insists on arriving early at Ben Gurion Airport. That's the airport in Tel Aviv that you have to go into. The first time through security, a soldier thumbs my father's American passport, stops at his birthplace, Aleppo. Suitcases removed from the X-ray, outstretched arms order us to the back of the line. The second time, a soldier motions for a group of men to walk through in front of us, and then asks my sister if he's my father's wife. When she responds, he's my father, he nods, right, and your husband. The third time our suitcases roll towards the X-ray, now giddy as the machine swallows my blue Samsonite, I approach the metal detector until an arm cradles a machine gun and points us to the end of the line again. So thank you. Okay, so then I am gonna have to share a couple like poems as well about Armenian, sort of like my Armenian culture as well, which is a big portion of my book. But as you can probably tell, I'm half Armenian. So this whole experience sort of growing up with like one foot in sort of American culture and then one foot in more Armenian world, and then Palestine just made it even more interesting. So so this one is about being single, which was always, I didn't get married till I was like in my late 30s, and so and most of my family members married earlier, and so this is one experience I had. My uncle offers me a cow. When are you going to be a bride? He opens. The evening nearly spent. I thumb fuzz from my sweater, wish my glass held more whiskey. He grips my elbow and says, if you were in Armenia, they would take you and all the other single men and women. And I think he will say shoot us, because genocide stories start the same way. They gather the women and they line them up, or they brought the men into the woods, and so on. Instead, he continues, you would stand in a circle, alternate men and women, and take the hand of the man next to you, and he's your husband. Then each couple is given a cow. I snicker and say that sharing a studio apartment in San Francisco with a cow might be difficult, and he shakes his head and says, you need a cow to start a family. You're missing the point. And then I will do, let's see, I have a couple more. Okay. Okay. This one is a longer poem, 17 parts, but I promise you it's not actually, some are very, very short. About if you ever go to a house of anyone who's Armenian, I will bet you that you will see a pomegranate somewhere. It comes up. It came up, an Ida's poem had a pomegranate. It's there. It's all over. So I heard this like myth about pomegranates that I just thought was fascinating. So this is called Journal for Pomegranates. 1. And by the way, so I said 17 parts. So if you're super bored, again, just count down. You'll be almost there at the end. And I just have one more after this, and then I'll be done. Journal for Pomegranates. 1. Armenian brides slam this symbol of fertility against a wall. Wedding guests mutter, "See what blood will spill when your skin splits open. See your future children scattered on the floor, each seed breaking you in your satin." 2. I didn't marry until I was 38. Our wedding theme was mushrooms, not pomegranates. 3. As a child, I sipped candy pink Shirley Temples from tall glasses, 7-Up and grenadine, which used to be made from pomegranates, but now high fructose corn syrup and red dye 40. 4. Persephone traded 6 months in the underworld for 6 pomegranate seeds, half her immortal life for a little sweetness. 5. Each morning, seeds rupture beneath my father's thumbs. Under a microscope, one can see the fruit of the dead, blood erupting from Adonis. 6. Palm Wonderful, the largest producer of American pomegranates, uses more water than all the inhabitants of Los Angeles. That's true. There's a lot of protest about them. 7. I didn't bring children into this world until I was nearly 40. 8. My first son stuck inside. The obstetrician pried until she unpeeled me, tugged him with a vacuum, even after 2 cuts, a capital T, across my uterus. 9. Pomegranate trees live for over 200 years. 10. 21 months later, back in that same green hospital room, I was tired. It was January, California fires, and another C-section. The nurse, young, pretty, asked if I wanted to give my son his first bath. I whispered to my husband, "Let me sleep, let me sleep." 11. The Pomegranate Council in California suggests it may have been the actual forbidden fruit of the Garden of Eden. 12. All trade orchestrated by men, father, husband, Hades, Zeus, son. 13. Awakened by white light glare, my husband calls into the corridor, "Help, I need somebody in here," and a rush of nurses and talk of blood on the floor, my blood, and the discovery of an IV the nurse forgot to cap. She was so sorry. Even the hospital manager came in, lured me with extra applesauce, graham crackers, stay another night. 14. Jesus' blood are on palms, and this fruit of abundance, this fruit of riches, this pirate's treasure chest of so many seeds. 15. The French term for pomegranate, grenade, has given its name to the weapon. 16. My mother had a son who died inside of her. I was not even 2, but she said I stopped nursing right after. 17. Armenia's national fruit is actually an apricot. The pomegranate is claimed by Azerbaijan, another story of broken flesh. So thank you. Okay, so one more poem. And so I try, as you can see, like my poems are sort of heavy in topic, which I'm sorry, they get serious. So I try to write a funny poem, but whenever I try to make a funny poem, that ends up being not funny. So I apologize. So this is my last poem, but I really was trying to be funny. And then I realized when I read this to my poetry group, and that was like saw their faces. And so anyway, feel free to laugh at parts because people have laughed, but you don't have to. You don't have to. Okay. It's called Miss, a tragic comedy in 3 parts. 1. The morning something is amiss, as simple as a missed period, and you can't dismiss a miscalculation of a misstep with a certain mister's emissions during a position, probably missionary if you remember correctly. 2. The doctor is ready for you, miss. You insist this must be a mistake. You're 46, but even a C- chemistry student cannot be missing the pink line. You are so misled. She warns miscarriage so common, not to be a pessimist. She just doesn't want you to be misguided, and she wants to maximize your understanding and minimize what you believe from Reddit. But that you are pregnant is unmistakable, and thus misogyny with whatever choice, the extremists are everywhere. Luckily, you're not in Mississippi, where you'd be in prison for worse than a misdemeanor. 3. The nausea, miserable. At the next appointment, a misty scan on the screen. Such a misfortune, the doctor says. The body plays mischief. A mismatch between uterus and brain, and the misguided body keeps maximizing the nutrition to something that stopped growing weeks ago. Maybe the body refused admission? Maybe it's an optimist? Misled these last 10 weeks, mistaking something these last weeks that was still living. Okay, thank you so much.
Our next guest tonight, Adela Najarro, is the author of 5 poetry collections, including Variations in Blue, selected for publication in 2025 through the Letras Latinas Red Hand Collaborative. Her other works include Split Geography, Twice Told Over, My Children's, and Volcanic Interruptions, a chapbook featuring artwork by Janet Trenchard, the 2024 International Latino Book Awards designated Volcanic Interruptions as an honorable mention in the Juan Felipe Herrera Best Poetry Book Award category. The California Arts Council recognized her as an established artist for the Central California region and appointed her as an individual artist fellow. Adela is a poet with a social consciousness who is working on a novel. Her extended family left Nicaragua and arrived in San Francisco during the 1940s after the fall of the Somoza regime. The last of her family settled in the Los Angeles area. She is the board president for Círculo de Poetas and Writers and works with the Latinx community nationwide, promoting the intersection of creative writing and social justice. Please now welcome Adela Najarro.
Hey, let's see. Here we go. Hello, and I'm so glad to be here with all of you. Yeah, so here's the book, Variations in Blue. And the title is really important because the entire book is our variations and themes. So there's not a poem in there that's all by itself. It's a cycles of variations on themes. And so today I'm going to read the middle section, parts of it, and I have to give a warning that it's about domestic violence. And so I'm just going to start. So we have heavy themes today, but I think that's part of social justice, especially someone mentioned the times we're living in right now. And I think there's this desire to hide the truth. And until we know the truth, we can't change it. So all of our voices are so important to speak these truths that may not have been voiced before. The parking lot. It was Wednesday or Tuesday. It could have been Thursday around noon or 1 o'clock. The sun would have been out, or it could have been raining. It was a day in Southern California. By then, the freeways would have begun to clog, or maybe it would have been late enough for them to begin to empty. Some odd time of day or evening, 2 a.m. or 3:46 p.m. or 7:17 p.m. Maybe it was July. It could have been August. I could have been married. Maybe it was before we got married. Sometime during the honeymoon, una luna de miel. In Spanish, you can hear the moon dripping sweet, sweet sweetness. It was the honeymoon. You could say the days before we got married and the days immediately following. The first time we were in a parking lot, a burger stand off the highway. We needed a walk, so we parked on asphalt between white lines. Maybe we pulled up and parked off the curb. There were 2 burgers wrapped in parchment paper, cheese melting, ketchup in miniature white cups. 2 boys crossed the parking lot to their truck, a yellow pickup with a border collie in the back. That was the first time he punched my arm. Did I tell you there was a sky? There was a tree, too, some grass. He didn't like me looking at the boys. I don't remember the second time, nor the third. Every town has a CVS or Walgreens or a Piggly Wiggly, stores to buy things we need. The strangest thing is, how did he know? We bought Preparation H and spread the calm on my upper arm so the bruise would fade. A bruise shaped like California slipping down into Mexico after an earthquake shattering fault line. Streets will flood after the big one comes. Warm, rushing water streams in. It did heal faster, the bruise. The deep, congealed bruise. Yellow, then green, then spiraling back to smooth, unblemished flesh. Thank you. To inherit the earth. First, learn to stand. If bent and broken, allow a blue sky autumn breeze through one vertebrae and then another until the spine lifts, a strand of pearls pulls straight by the hand of God. If no longer bent, but still cracked open with hip bones shattered into a tableau of what should never happen, then knit. Knit the bones, knit together shards and pieces until the pelvic girdle is one piece, whole. This will require knitting needles heated on the sun's corona and wool woven from your mother's womb. If still unable to stand, since shin bones have splint and cannot carry the weight of days and nights bitterly cold when mylar blankets were not enough, then crawl. Move forward by grabbing a table leg, an end of a couch. Pull yourself up so you can at least sit for a moment on the front stoop. Quit smoking and watch a stranger walk by. Notice the possum asleep on the gate, the squirrel beginning to laugh, a piece of broken glass on the sidewalk caught midday. Look up. See leaves on a tree, silently green. Thank you. The bones. The first little piggy went to the market and got stuck on an earring. The next little piggy got caught in her hair. The third and fourth hungry little piggies chewed down to the bone. The last little piggy had none. He cried, me, 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 until all his 5 fingers found a home. The hand that slaps the face contains 27 bones, 48 nerves. Nerves remember as they jump, shout, turn about. On a skull, there are holes, eye sockets, nasal passages, little holes where ears used to be, where ants dance. Until we're all bone, there is no rest. We may as well be marionettes stomping drunk on countertops. How many times will a metronome beat before it's all over? On her cheek, a red imprint, a handprint, the nerves, the bones, on your sister's cheek, on your neighbor's cheek, on the cheek of the girl across the street. We, they cry all the way home. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and part of what goes on in this book, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to write about domestic violence in a non-confessional way, in a way that captures the emotional experience and what happens afterwards, and how these things linger and affect and weigh us down. And I hope people know that by writing, you can clear your soul. You put these things down in writing, and it can lead to the healing process. It's really, really powerful. And so this isn't only me, this is so many women. So this poem is dedicated to Maggie Paul and Lisa Simon. Jungian Songs and Pastoral Landscapes. She loved him, the teacher, who taught her Jungian well-versed manners. He knew about wailing walls and prayers that sing sweet honey into rocks. His fingers played her innocent red ribbons. A woman can walk barefoot despite age and sharp pebble pathways. Living as neighbors for years, she remains afraid. He might take her, harm her, the unidentified stranger. He leers and laughs through Hoboken, New Jersey. She runs, then runs again. She can't stop running through earth, elemental, dry dust on her toes. She has pretty legs, a pretty bird, bird in a cage. Here, pretty bird, sing it. More unidentified strangers. They catch a girl, put her in a truck. A girl is not meant to be hunted. A girl is not a wild animal to be caught. Her hat should not tear off and tumble past a cactus, scratching air. Hats should levitate on warm, whispering winds to be found by those lost, seeking shade and water. If you find one rolling over sand and boulders, put it on. Enter an ice blue pool. Float on an inflatable aqua lounge. Adjust your sunglasses. Be grateful. You have found cool water in the desert while sipping from a glass of stones. Thank you. Okay. On writing. A poem may contain a cliff over a sea that sharpens a granite edge raw, exhales brisk breezes, maroons seaweed on beaches, breaks shells to cut our feet. The same sea may slide in softly, leave white foam on sand, the warm sand, the day hot enough. Once I sat in a restaurant without words, and Jorge said to go outside, feel the heat. It was necessary to burn my heavy bones into clear sky, to break free from fog that rises after a hot day, turns water into air. I walked along the shoreline, the hard sand, the cool water, and rested in a wilted garden. In this garden, it is always morning, the hydrangea moist and blue. The leaf of a lemon tree rests, fixed and waxy, next to a sturdy bud, a flower yet to come. Here, when a bee stings, the pain collapses into pleasure, because it is over, because I have not become numb. Thank you. And this is my last poem. So it's the middle section of the book that has that. And I don't know if you can say that you can be proud of working through all that, but I am. And I really feel I've created art in those poems. And I hope you joined me in that journey. So here's like you were saying, we have to end on a positive note, right? Okay, what changed? There we go. Okay, what changed? All right. After I changed one husband for another, I changed my shoes, I changed my earrings, my dreams changed too. I began slamming doors and shouting, no. A blue Cadillac crashed while driving Camino Real. The only part that stayed were words that swam in cool ocean water. After I changed one husband for another, I cast a spell in a dream. I changed my shoes, I changed my earrings, I changed the locks, the bedspreads, sheets, and towels. Sadness and loss changed to dancing, a cha-cha two-step under a moon and a star. I began walking a mountain trail filled with eucalyptus and blue jays. After changing one husband for another, I heard a moon and a star laugh in twilight sky. I changed my shoes, I changed my earrings, I changed the locks. Clouds fanned toward mountains, rain fell onto asphalt, the leaves stuck wet like a sentence that has too many participles and lacks concrete nouns. After changing one husband for another, I changed my shoes, I changed my earrings, I changed the words. The weather changed from autumn to winter, and I learned to rest my head on a shoulder. I heard a moon and a star laugh in a twilight sky. I cast a spell so the words that swam in deep waters could seep out from wounds as letters rising into space. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Adela. Thank you so much. And Aida and Jen, thank you so much for your readings tonight. Much appreciate that. And also for the open mic readers. And come back next month here at Works. We'll have another great show for you then, second Tuesday of the month. And thanks to Joe Miller and Laura and where did she go? Amy. Okay, and Amy's out there too. All right, and thank you all for coming tonight. There's books for sale at the tables and food, enjoy, and drinks. Thank you so much. Joe.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Our last show was kind of unusual. It was a little about the history of art in San Jose and Silicon Valley. And you might see that along these like shelves, this L-shaped shelves by the front door, there are books to take for free that were all co-authored by Jan Rundfleisch, who the last show was kind of sort of about. There's one of her sculptures over here, this little tower that is still here. That's actually now part of my collection, but the rest of her art is gone now, except for this one piece, which is also purchased, that we have to move out from the 1970s, actually, the late 1970s. So look at the books. There's a couple of them there, like that are in the last few years. Jan just passed away, but just before that, we published a book by her called Building Together, which I'm the designer of also. So so that one, and next to it is just for a little donation. But everything on the shelves, take a look. It's about all sorts of things, like from quilting to immigrant art in Silicon Valley. And just take copies, please, for free, because we've got boxes more of those in the back to give away. And that was what Jan wanted, was for us to give that away. So thanks for supporting us. Thanks for coming out. Poetry Center, of course, funds the poets themselves in some modest way. So support Poetry Center San Jose, which I was on the board of directors of for 20 years. So I'm kind of invested in that group. Here, Works purchases these things for us to do these events, everything from the projector, well, everything that you see here, except for the podium. The computer is mine. But everything else belongs to Works, the camera, the light, the cords, the Bose machine, the mixer over there that lets it go out onto Zoom, as well as giving us a little bit of tenuous things. We weren't seeing very much bounce out on Zoom, so I'm sorry for that one little blurb there where I tried to increase it for the people who are out on Zoom who are saying like, we're barely hearing you. So, So thanks for hanging in there and supporting us. Look us both up, workssj.org, pcsj.org. Thanks to Rob. Thanks to you guys. This was like a pretty incredible night of words. So, oh my God. Thanks for coming out. All right.